Good morning or good afternoon whenever you're looking at this. I'm back with another mini math lesson. This is also a little bit of review, but it's kind of the last thing we were working on before we all had to go home, and that is equivalent expressions. So first of all, let's talk about what an equivalent expression is. Equivalent means equal to or having the same value. Expression is a number sentence without an equal sign. So if you look at my examples here, you'll see this is an equal sign, but that's just because it's asking you to write the equivalent expression for it. So the expression is 3 times m plus 3, and then the equal sign says, what's an equivalent expression for that? So if my cameraman could come over here and look over my shoulder, I'll show you how to do this. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to use the distributive property, and I'm going to multiply that 3 by the m, and then multiply that 3 by the 3. And an equivalent expression for this is 3m plus 9. Do you see that? 3 times the m plus 3 times the 3. Let's look at another one that's the same kind. This one is 3 times x minus 6. So again, using the distributive property, I'm going to say 3 times x minus 3 times 6. So 3 times x is 3x minus 3 times 6 is 18. So an equivalent expression for 3 times x minus 6 is 3x minus 18. Now, with these kind over here, it's looking for an equivalent expression again. So a way of writing 20n minus 4x that's different but has the same value. So what I'm going to do is look at, with these two, what is the least or the greatest common factor between those two, and it's 4, right? So I'm going to say 4 times 5 equals 20. So 4 times 5n minus 4 times 4, so it's just 1x. So it's kind of the reverse of the type we were doing before. 4 times 5n equals 20n minus 4 times 1x equals 4x. Okay? Now let's look at another one like that. This one says 2x plus 10. So let's look at the greatest common factor between 2 and 10. It's 2. So let's use 2 outside our parentheses, and then say 2 times 1 is 2x plus what times 2 equals 10? 5. Let's make sure that makes sense. 2 times 1x equals 2x, okay, plus 2 times 5 equals 10. All right. Now, do you see how I used 1x here, and I also used it in this problem up here, 1x? You don't actually have to write that 1. You can just write x. All right. Now, here's 3 problems for you to try on your own. So write these down, and then pause the video and come back and see how you did. 8 times x plus 2 equals. So find an equivalent expression for 8 times x plus 2. And then 5 times 2x plus 3. What's an equivalent expression there? And the third one, 10 times 3x plus 4. I'll give you a hint. With all 3 of these problems, you're going to be using the distributive property. Okay, pause the video, solve those 3 problems, and then come back. Okay, welcome back. Let's see how you did. 8 times x is 8x, plus 8 times 2 is 16. So an equivalent equation for 8 times x plus 2 is 8x plus 16. Let's look at the next one. 5 times 2x is 10x, plus 5 times 3 is 15. See how I did 5 times 2x plus 5 times 3. All right, and finally the third one, 10 times 3x is 30x, plus 10 times 4 is 40. So we've got our equivalent expressions. Now, I'm going to give you 4 problems that are the other kind. So you have to reverse it. Here are these 4. So copy these down on a piece of paper and then come up with equivalent expressions for 4x minus 16, 25x minus 5y, 12x minus 3y, and 15x plus 5y. Pause the video, come back when you're done, and see how you did. Okay, so I've got 4x minus 16. Well, I notice right away that 4 will go into both 4x and 16. So I'm going to say 4 parentheses times x, that'll give me my 4x, minus 4 times what equals 16? 4. And just double check to make sure it makes sense. 4 times x equals 4x, minus 4 times 4 equals 16. That works. All right, let's take a look at this next one. This is 25x minus 5y. I've got 2 variables in this one. That's fine, it works the same way. I'm going to look at the coefficient for the 2 variables. I've got 25 and 5, and I'm going to notice that 5 is the greatest common factor between those 2. So I'm going to say 5 parentheses. What times 5 equals 25? 5 minus 5y. Well, it's already 5, so it's just minus y. Make sure it makes sense. 5 times 5x equals 25x, minus 5 times y equals 5y. Yep, they're equivalent. Okay, number 3 here, 12x minus 3y. All right, I've got another one with 2 different variables. That doesn't matter. Just look at the coefficient, and the greatest common factor there is 3. So I'm going to use 3 here, and then say 3 times 4 equals 12, and it's x, minus 3 times 1 equals 3, so I can just say minus y, and I have an equivalent expression for 12x minus 3y. 3 times 4x is 12x, minus 3 times y equals 3y. Okay, last problem. Here we've got 15x plus 5y. Again, I'm going to look at the coefficient, or the numbers before the variable, the numbers that are multiplied by the variable, and the greatest common factor of those is 5. So 5 parentheses 3x plus y. Let's double check. 5 times 3x equals 15x, plus 5 times y equals 5y. All right. So hopefully that makes some sense to you. Go ahead, if you have time today and you want to do some more, Khan Academy is a good source, IXL is a good source. And our next video will be about solving equations, not expressions, but equations. So number sentences with equal signs. Solving equations with one variable. This is when it gets really fun, I think. All right, you guys, I miss you. Do good, stay engaged with math, be nice to your parents, and I will see you soon. Bye.